Hello out there, and if you've seen the title of this video, that's really all you need to know. Find this knife, buy this knife, enjoy this knife. That's really all there is to it. Alright, and this is the CRKT Pilar number 5311, a Jesper Voxnaes design that I was really anticipating. One of the two knives I'd say from CRKT for the year that I was most excited about. And although I was really excited, I wasn't planning on doing any kind of review or overview or first look video of this knife because the plan for this one was and is to modify it and make a video about that. So I'm going to be modifying this knife with my buddy Warpath101, who has a really cool Instagram that I will link to in the description. And we're going to be working on this knife together, and he's going to do some file work and I'm going to do some other stuff, and hopefully it's going to turn out really, really cool. And that was going to be that. But then another knife from CRKT sort of came along and threw a wrinkle in my plan for the video about that. And that's this one, the CRKT Aux. And I'm not going to go too far into detail about this knife, except to say that the review that I have coming about that knife is not going to be as favorable as I wanted it to be. Sort of disappointed me in a couple ways, and while I'm not going to say it's not a good knife, I just don't care for it too much. And as a reviewer, it's really important for me to be as objective as possible and to be as balanced as possible. And while I don't have time to review every single knife that comes through my hands, when there is a situation like this one where I have a negative type of opinion about a knife from a certain company, and then I have one that I absolutely adore like this from the same company, I think that balance is essential for the integrity of, what I'm trying to do here. So it wouldn't be right for me to just talk about how the Aux isn't great and then not talk about how fantastic this knife is, because it is fantastic. So that's really what we're going to do today. It's not going to be a full review. I'm just going to go over some of the small things about this knife, show it off a little bit, give you a good look at it, and go from there. Okay, so this one has a really short blade length, right around 2 inches long, 8CR13 MOV. And the big thing that stands out about this knife is it is just a beefy, robust, small EDC. Right? When you think about a 2-inch blade length, you usually do not have a 4.12 ounce knife. But that is what we have here. And while 4 ounces is a little bit on the hefty side for a small EDC, in this case, it is perfect. It's perfect. It doesn't need to be any lighter than it is. And sometimes I really prefer a light knife, but in this case, not at all. Doesn't matter one bit. I'm going to bring in the CRKT Squid too, because the way that I've described this knife to a couple people now is I've called this one a squid on steroids. And that's really how it feels to me. You can see a general size similarity here, blade length similarity a little bit. But when you flip these knives and look at them vertically, look at the beefiness of the Pilar versus the Squid. And the Squid was a great, just small EDC that was able to get a lot of work done. And so just think about how efficient this fatter Pilar can be in terms of using it and putting it through abuse if you need to. Just really thick frame here, a much thicker blade stock as well. So when you're comparing it to the Squid, just like I said, the Squid roided up. That's how I feel about it. And I'm thrilled about that, as you can tell from the tone in my voice. Just really like it. All right, so looking at the rest, the ergonomics are always on a smaller knife a big issue. And here, there are not a lot of grip configurations that you can use, but this main one, even though there's no jimping, is very comfortable. Extremely comfortable, good choke up, but you can also choke up further if you were to do this, and then use the opening hole here to get purchase for some more like fine detail work. This is actually very comfortable, no hot spot in this kind of configuration. I don't know about choking down, I don't know if that would really work, but there are a number of ways to make this work for you. But again, people with larger hands might want to avoid this one, but I don't know, I think it'd still be a very good backup knife for someone who carries larger folders as well. Okay, and then looking at the construction, we have a small backspacer, but not enough to keep this from being generally open, so it should be very easy to clean. And one of the big appeals to me as someone who likes to take knives apart and modify them was just how simple this is put together. Not a lot of screws, not a lot to mess with, just a few pieces to take apart, and should be very easy to put back together. Very much looking forward to doing that. Okay, we've got a nice size lanyard lanyard hole here, excuse me. And then the pocket clip is 2-position, tip up and tip down carry, as you can see here. Nothing crazy about the pocket clip, just very simple and functional. All right, so the one thing, if there is one thing that is not perfectly positive about this knife, it would be that the action is just a little bit less than smooth. You can probably see in there that we're running on Teflon washers, and there is just a little bit of friction as we open and close. And again, I have not done anything to this knife since I took it out of the box, haven't tried to lubricate it, haven't tried to adjust any kind of pivot or anything. So just letting you know that out of the box there is just a little bit of friction, but when you're looking at it like this, flips open perfectly. I mean, the action is still great, but just not perfectly smooth. All right, taking a look at the centering very quickly. Pretty darn good. Lockup for a knife that is built so heavily as you would expect is flawless. All right, so flawless lockup, really good centering, put together very well. Overall, just very excited to have this knife and to take it apart and to get to work on it. One last thing I want to mention is the sharpness of this knife out of the box. Now, when I'm doing reviews, a lot of times I just omit that information because if I leave it out, it generally means that the knife is sufficiently sharp and very sharp out of the box. The only time I ever really mention it is if the knife is a little bit dull or if it's just extremely sharp. And in this case, thankfully, it is wicked sharp. I don't know what anybody else who has one of these has gotten out of the box, but mine was wicked. So really thrilled about that. Excited about this knife across the board, guys. And to be honest with you, when I had the opportunity to purchase it, I should have gotten 2 or 3 because the one that I'm modifying, I will not be keeping. And so I'm not going to have this knife, and that's sort of a bummer. And the second that I'm able to get this knife again, I'm probably going to get like 2 or 3 of them, because this is going to be fun to work on, I'm sure, and I know that I'm going to want to keep one for myself. And I recommend this knife to anybody who needs a small EDC that is going to be able to be very functional and get a lot of work done. This is the one. All right, guys, so any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, as always, let me know in the feedback down below. I would love to hear from you. If you have this knife already, would really love to hear what you think about it. That review on the CRKT Aux is coming, so keep an eye out for that. And I would love to hear your opinion on that when that one comes. So yeah, definitely watch that video and let me know what you think as well. All right, but I appreciate your time, and I look forward to talking with you soon, and you will be seeing this knife, hopefully sooner rather than later, all decked out and dressed up. All right, take care. Have a good one.